Hello and welcome to SEGA News Bits. I'm Barry. With me is George.
And I'm not thinking. Well, I'm thinking a little
No,
bit.
he's not thinking. But you know what is thinking? The SEGA Dreamcast, because it turns 18 years old in America in 9999. You remember that?
What a convenient title.
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
their birthday.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like they planned it. No, but do you remember 9999?
I do remember it vaguely. It was a long time ago. 18 years ago, I hear.
Yeah. Man, and you know that wouldn't work in Germany, though. It would just be like they're saying, no, 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 no. Anyway,
No.
So the Dreamcast, it's old. 18. God damn. Do you still have a Dreamcast?
Of course, I have a Dreamcast. I have multiple Dreamcasts, and I know you do too.
How many do you have?
7, and I have 3 that are broken. So
Wow. Yeah, I only have 4, one that's broken. So you're outdoing me here, but so it's 2017 now. The Dreamcast is 18 years old. Do you think it's still worth collecting and owning?
I think that it's worth collecting for the experience of what it was. I think a lot of the games that were huge on the Dreamcast have been ported, but there's still a lot of hidden gems in the system that I think are still worth picking up. And I think even the games that came out and have been ported to other stuff, there's like a little bit of Easter eggs you could find online that are worth picking up on, like Sonic Adventure having those VMU save files that didn't make it anywhere else. While they're small little things, right. I still think it's awesome. I still think that Phantasy Star Online, even without the online, is one of the best offline games to like listen to a podcast and just like level up. Like that's the thing I used to love about Phantasy Star Online. And yeah, you could play it on the GameCube and you can play it on the Xbox, but there's something about playing it on the Dreamcast that's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, I would definitely say, games that are available elsewhere. There are a lot of PlayStation titles that were ported to the Dreamcast, and they're just better on the Dreamcast just because you're getting, that VGA output. You sometimes get extra features. I know that Star Wars Jedi Power Battles has some exclusive characters. There's the Episode 1 Racer game that's a lot of fun. Rayman 2 has additional content, some like downloadable content, and even I think it's the only version in HD or in VGA that doesn't have the English voices. I don't like the English voices. I like when it's all like the goofy speak that they do.
And also like Tony Hawk, just the graphic comparison from the PlayStation to the Dreamcast one, it's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely Tony Hawk 1 and 2, and the Spider-Man game, which was from the same developer, right? What is it?
Neversoft?
Eversoft. Yeah, what am I thinking? Yeah. So I mean, there are a lot of titles on it that I think actually are the most fun on the Dreamcast. How about some of the Dreamcast only games? What would you say are your favorites or that you'd recommend to people?
Dreamcast only. Well, I mean, Cannon Spike was a nice little fun shooter, top-down shooter by Capcom. That one I think is worth picking up. I think it's a little rare, but I think it has some cool stuff. Ooga Booga had some cool multiplayer stuff in it. It's kind of hard because a lot of the games have been ported over to other consoles like Jet Set Radio and all the big games. But also I think Evolution is an underrated JRPG. It's very simplistic, but I feel like it has some charm to it that a lot of people don't really, get when it first came out. It got kind of ignored and thrown away. And I think this is also the only console version of Street Fighter 3 Double Impact, while Third Strike, the most updated version, got released elsewhere, like Xbox Live Arcade. This one has that. And Super Magnetic Neo is actually a pretty nice, fun platformer. And then there's that Berserk game that I actually like because it's so bloody.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous bloody.
Nice. Yeah, I would say probably the top tier Dreamcast only games out right now are Shenmue and D2. I think those are the ones that are really great. I'd say Blue Stinger is also very good. And then, like you were mentioning, some oddities, like there's Illbleed.
Yeah.
Tech Romancer is really bizarre. It's like a Japanese anime, like 80s and 90s anime fighting game where you have like, it's bizarre. It's like a bunch of parodies of anime and they battle.
Yeah. And then there's that game Egg,
Yeah.
Elemental Gimmick Gear, which is like it's made by a developer called Birthday, so it's already weird as it is. And it's an action role-playing game, and it's actually pretty fun. And I'm actually very surprised this did not make it outside of Dreamcast. I literally thought this game was on PC for some reason.
Wow. Yeah, I would say Toy Commander is another one that's really good that I'm surprised isn't on other consoles. And Time Stalkers too. There were some big names behind that game.
Remember when I first played that one, the Toy Commander game? I remember that like there was a turd inside the litter box. That's the best thing ever, dude. That's worth it. Just the turd inside the litter box.
Digital turds. Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice. So we've named a lot of games here. I think it's pretty clear that we think it is worth owning and playing some of these games on. What would you say is the ideal price point for a Dreamcast right now? Not looking at eBay, just...
Okay, if you look on Craigslist, you might be able to get a pretty good deal. I've noticed that a lot of people have randomly started trying to get like $100 for their Dreamcast. But I've gotten pretty good deals where you could get a bundle of games, like 12 games or something, for like $50. Like if you look good, if you look good enough, you could get a really good deal on the Dreamcast. And at $50, I mean, what else are you gonna do with $50? Go to GameStop and get 2 games? Come on, man.
Yeah.
The Dreamcast is worth owning.
That seems about right. Yeah, I'd say between 30 and 40 for just the console, cords, controller, and maybe a VMU included. But yeah, the price point you mentioned, you know, people would toss in some more common games. You're most likely going to get a bundle with some sports titles, like the 2K games. And I'm not a big sports fan, but I'd say the NFL 2K games are worth just checking out just to see how amazing they were for the time. Because I remember people be like, I hate football games, but man, you got to try it, the graphics.
Yeah, and then they had online play. I think that was one of my first online games ever in my whole life. So it's like, that's some nostalgia value, even though I'm not a football person.
Yeah, yeah. So 2017, we have seen some indie releases. I just wanted to go through them here real quick. We don't have to say too much about them. Some that caught my attention were Rush Rush Rally Reloaded. This was a kind of a re-release of Rush Rush Rally Racing with a lot of updates, fixes, new content, and I feel like it came out pretty long after the original game, which, 2009. That's a good space for a remaster. The other ones are Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs. This one I've heard really negative things about. It looks kind of cheap. Have you seen this one?
I have not. What did people say about it?
Well, basically someone got the license for this old, I think it's an anime, Saber Rider, and so a lot of the fans of the show were like, oh, awesome, a game. But from what I've been hearing, like behind the scenes, they're kind of using an existing game and just kind of reskinning it. It's not that exciting. Like for a packaged game, it's going to be a very, very rudimentary kind of like what's that Wild West shooting game?
For what console?
For Genesis.
Sunset Riders?
Yeah, it's like a kind of a stripped down Sunset Riders. And then another one would be Alice Dreams Tournament, and that one was a Kickstarter, and I just wanted to bring that one up because it released on time. Like, they were true to their word. They were like, hey, we're almost done with the game. Oh, we hit a snag. All right, game's out, and I got it. And it's pretty good. It's like Bomberman. They used some gimmicks. They used the VMU for like a blackout mode where you can't see the screen sometimes, and so you have to look at your VMU and move around the screen. It's cool.
Wait. You're telling me that there's a Dreamcast developer out there that's indie that actually delivered a game on time?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think they had a lot of the game completed before they went to Kickstarter, and also the Kickstarter itself made a lot of money because they had an accessory which was a VMU like reading light. So it was a light you plugged in so you could see your VMU at dark. And I mean, if it works to, I'm not complaining. I got it on time. Now let's talk about some of the games coming out in 2018 and beyond.
Ooh.
So we've got quite a few. Amoeba, that was the adventure game. Do you remember that one? It has the risque cover.
Yeah, with the Lincoln women.
Yeah, and we would news it, and people would say, "Can you take that down? There's nudity on it. Could you blur it?"
I censored it, I think, in one of the posts. But yeah, like people still didn't like the idea that there's breast out there.
Yeah. Oh well.
Anime breast.
I have nipples. Redux 2. This one I'm not really looking forward to because I feel like they're really milking the Ducks games. And there was a lot of controversy over the fact that Redux, the first one, which is a shmup, was basically Ducks, a remake of Ducks. And so now they're like, no, the real sequel's Redux 2.
And then haven't they been like fixing the game that had problems and then reselling that fix to people that bought the old game?
And I even think I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I write for a site, could we get a sample of the new one? And I think he was like, well, send me your old copy. Or like I had to show proof of purchase. And I'm like, God, you cheap bastard.
Yeah.
Another one, this is a weird one, Hypertension. And this is I think it's like a first-person shooter, maybe like a melee game. And it's like a creepy atmosphere. It's taking forever. I don't know if this game's ever going to release. Do you remember this one?
Yeah, I do remember this one. It has like very, I don't know, the graphics are 3D, but they're like very strange. Kind of reminded me of like Sega Saturn.
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah.
So, we'll see. Xenocider, this one, it was a Kickstarter, but it failed.
Yeah, and then they had like a demo, didn't they, for PC?
Right, yeah, now they're making it again. I was an initial backer. I'm not backing it now, not because I don't trust the project, but just because I've kind of been soured on indie Kickstarters. I looked at my list recently, and I have like 4 or 5 unfulfilled games still, so fool me 5 times, shame on me, I guess. Yeah. Last 2, I'll get through these real quick. Henshin Engine. This is I believe it's like a TurboGrafx 16 kind of game with like an anime girl. There's actually a crossover between that and the working title game Strike Harbinger.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has that little bit pink anime girl. It's like a platformer. That's progressing along nicely, I've heard. I don't think anyone's going to be swindled on that one. It looks interesting. Which brings us to Elysian Shadows.
Hey, didn't we talk to these guys when they announced their Kickstarter?
Yeah, when was that? How many years ago was that? Man, seems like forever.
Like 15?
Yeah, more. But yeah, so this thing, what are your thoughts on this?
I kind of figured that it might have issues when they were working on the game since like 2007 or something before we got them into the interview. So it's been a very long process, and I think it's going to be, I don't know if it's ever going to come out, I'm going to be honest with you at this point, but if it comes out, it's pretty ambitious what they're trying to do.
Yeah, we spoke to them back in 2014, and at the time they really made it sound like the game was going to release. And Kickstarters, they rarely hit their deadline, but they said estimated delivery was December 2015, and here we are
2017.
Yeah, so they haven't done a good job doing updates on their Kickstarter page. The last one was actually in January 31st. There are quite a few people who are upset about this, and the reply or the rebuttal from supporters would say, well, check them out on Facebook, they're still busy. And it's like, well, then why aren't they posting their Facebook updates on Kickstarter? So it's
out of all these 2018 plus games, indie games, which one are you looking forward to the most?
I've actually been looking forward to Hypertension because I feel like we haven't had any third-person 3D titles really from indie developers, and I think that's exciting.
I kind of wanted to see Xenocider because of the same kind of thing, but I like the idea that it's kind of like a Space Harrier kind of game.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So to all you listening, what are your Dreamcast memories? And this is something we've been trying to clear up. What do you think? Is the Dreamcast a retro console now? I mean, it's been 18 years. Or is it still, I don't know, modern? I mean, what's the in-between?
How are you guys going to be celebrating the anniversary of the Dreamcast? 18 years. That's 18 shots you got to take. Don't get too drunk.
Alcohol.